Movies
Uh-oh.
came out. Tomorrowland came out this weekend.
Speaking of Disney shit.
Yeah, Disney.
How was it?
Shit. Did anybody see it besides me and Kevin?
No.
I want to go see it, but I didn't know it was already out.
Yeah. I'll go again.
Memorial Day weekend this year kind of sucked.
It was done.
Yeah.
Yes.
It made
I read an
35
article
million.
about it.
That's so low for a Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, total movie sales this weekend, 35 million?
Oh, for Tomorrowland, that was the number one.
I
for
think
Tomorrowland.
they confirmed it at 40, which is
Okay.
still not.
So for a number one movie
not
on
that
Memorial
great.
Day weekend, that's pretty shitty.
Well, I don't think there was anything in that trailer that was very attractive to somebody who doesn't really give a fuck about Disneyland.
Yeah.
I agree.
I felt like the first trailer that I saw looked really cool, and then every time I saw something new from that movie, I wanted to see it less.
Yeah.
And also, I'll let you review it because I haven't seen it, but they keep selling it on this thing. You can change the future. And I just think, like, at what point in anybody's life is that not an option?
Yeah.
You can change the future. Yeah, it hasn't fucking happened yet. I mean, make a decision.
Yeah, I was, but
Go for it.
But in general, though, I was surprised as it came out, how few people I knew that didn't know it came out. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah, I
was
didn't
like
know it was
anybody.
out.
Yeah, nobody knew it was out.
I was just talking to someone this weekend about, like, yeah, we should go see Tomorrowland when it comes out.
Yeah, and
Could have last
it
night.
was
Yeah.
marked like I knew it was coming because the methods that they marketed and that I discovered were being at Disneyland. They set up a huge World's Fair display,
Right.
so I knew that, and a few other things that no one else other than me would have seen or Kevin would have seen. You
right.
know? But anyway, that being said, I loved it. That's my favorite movie that I've seen this year so far.
Okay.
No shit.
In regards to what it appealed to, it appealed to my sensibilities. It was a Disney live action movie, and if you know what you're getting, it's that. It was the things that there's certain things you connect to more than other things, and for me, that movie. It was, the message of it was kind of this, like, basically the premise of the movie is we used to have this optimism about the future and the way it was going, and it was a constant push to
Innovate.
to innovate and all these things, and then suddenly somewhere in culture it became that wasn't cool anymore, and now everything is kind of all our movies are about how the world is ending, and all our culture is kind of centered around apocalyptic things, and it was the whole movie kind of had this anti-cynicism kind of message to it, and I don't know, it was really it was sappy, and I am a huge sap, and I really enjoyed that, I was really emotional by the end of it, and I really enjoyed it.
When you edit, can you put huge sap, just like a text above?
They already know. But anyway, so I don't know if you have anything to say about it, Kevin.
That's pretty much it. I liked it a lot.
Did you feel that way? Is that how you felt about it? So it appealed to me, but it really is interesting. This is like the 8th live action Disney movie in a row that had the same kind of post effect where I'm going to lump it in with Tron, with more recently Saving Mr. Banks. I'm going to go as far back as Rocketeer.
Wow, that's pretty far back.
Wait, you said recently.
Where I said as far back as Rocketeer. Where
All right, whatever. Keep going.
about Saving Mr. Banks. And so I was in this theater watching it and loved it so much to where the theater all broke out into applause when it was over. And it was like when I left the theater, there's just this negativity around it that I was not aware. Like, I go online and it was like everyone, oh yeah, what a giant piece of shit, right? And I was like, man, really? That happened to me with Mr. Banks and Tron and Rocketeer way back when. Of course, I wasn't on the internet back then.
I was.
But
I was too.
but it was
Not.
Well, there you go. Actually, I probably had the internet back then, but I didn't know how to find anything like
nice
that.
try.
Backpedaling.
I think Sean and Derek maybe had it.
Me and
I
Derek.
had it in like 92.
Yeah, I had it at
way before
89.
that. Yeah, 89.
Me too.
89.
That was when the internet was the best.
Yeah.
The Rocketeer discussion.
Before Rocco came out and
off
ruined
the
it.
hook.
I was on DARPANet, so fuck all y'all.
Were you talking Rocketeer?
So
Dude, I was in like sub forums. It's crazy.
yeah. So anyway, so all I was gonna say was I'm not saying it's objectively better than any other movie, but for my interests, it was my favorite movie that I've seen in a while.
Nice.
Good
I
stuff.
want to actually real quick return to what I was talking about a minute ago when I was talking about Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
I kind of said what I wanted to say about it, but I was thinking about when we've talked about Tron a bunch of times. We really like Tron.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think was the biggest issue with other people in Tron? Do you think that it was? Do you think it was just? I remember we were having a real crisis because it was at a time where like I think it was like Thor just came out and we like couldn't get people to like. So many people were like raving about Thor and we couldn't get anyone into Tron or something.
Yeah.
And
Tron was way cooler than the first
It
Thor
was,
movie.
and I'm trying to think. That's a good question.
Because-
like,
And I don't mind the first Thor
what don't
movie.
people like about Tron?
Well, here's the thing because I was thinking about it after Tomorrowland because like I said I was really surprised how much negative stuff I was reading about Tomorrowland when it was over, and when I was looking through some of these reviews, it was kind of like I'm trying to explain this. Like they were putting it under this like this sounds worse than what I mean when I say that like comic book movies have kind of wrecked movies, and what I mean.
Oh, they have. I support that statement without
Sure.
explanation.
And what I mean here, when I was reading, now there were some reviews of Tomorrowland that were just like I wasn't into. Okay, this or that, but so many of them went into this like comic book minutia of like, how could this robot do this, or how did this device do this? You know what I mean?
You know what?
Stuff that's like, hey, man, I don't
You
give
just
a fuck.
tapped into it because
you
one
know what I
thing,
mean?
yes, I do know what you mean, and I feel like comic books have ruined movies, not completely, but they've kind of shifted it in a sense where comics are very visual. So the coolest, biggest, best thing you could do in a comic or a comic book movie is something that is visually spectacular. And I feel like Tron, for as good as it was story-wise, never had those pinnacle visual moments.
Sure.
It had visual stuff in it that was cool, but never this like super immersive, very surreal, like everything is like this is the
Sure.
jizz moment. It was a lot of like backstory and deep-seated like father-son relationship stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a quiet movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It was.
And I really appreciate visual stuff, but I appreciate more kind of like the spiritual, just kind of like the message of the movie is very strong. I feel like that if you're into that kind of stuff, I think it runs deeper than comic book visual spectacular.
Sure.
Which, not that is bad, but
Bad to enjoy that or anything.
Yeah,
I'm not
but-
even saying that, but I know what you mean.
But to me, if that's all the movie
People start
aims
looking at
for,
everything
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way.
And I feel like that's kind of the issue with Tron.
Well,
Maybe.
because I feel that way to a degree. I will say with Tomorrowland is Tomorrowland, and I think actually you should know this going in without spoiling anything. Tomorrowland isn't like all set in Tomorrowland. You actually don't see that much of it, and I think that was a lot of people's issue with it. But to me, it was a movie about the ideas behind. It was about the concept of Tomorrowland. You know what I mean? It was about why don't we have a place like that? And I think the ideas and the kind of nostalgia for something like that was strong enough to why I loved it. But I think without that big kind of exploring another world, big kind of thing aspect, I think some people checked out. But I also do think too, some people analyze things to a point that it's like not appropriate for every movie. And I think Tomorrowland falls into that. Tomorrowland is a family Disney movie. I just kind of, I don't know. There were things in it that I was like, how did that? But it didn't bother me. So anyway, I was just thinking about that in relationship to Tron because I kind of felt like that went through a similar thing where it was this little, it was kind of a little, it was in a computer world, but it was a quiet movie.
I think Tron relied more on its story than on its visuals, and people really wanted a visual.
It didn't have the action set pieces that I think people.
It had a strikingly like unique visual style.
Yeah, and that's what I will say.
The all dark with the glowing light look of that movie was visually similar to the original Tron, which in the 70s, right? Or 80s?
82.
When that came out, that was probably the big new visual thing that no one had seen before, much like we're kind of inundated with that superhero shit now.
Yeah. And that's one thing I will say, actually, that Tron does have over... Like, I love Tomorrowland. When you actually got to see, quote-unquote, Tomorrowland, this kind of otherworldly place, it was kind of just a hodgepodge of a lot of future ideas. It didn't really have a cohesive style like Tron. Tron, it's like, that's fucking Tron. If you see a picture of it, it's definitively Tron. And I will say that's one thing I kind of wish Tomorrow had a little bit more cohesively. That's one thing I've seen complaints about that I agree with. But yeah, like I said, it was more about the idea of that stuff, and that's why it appealed to me. So
well
that's
acted?
anyway. Yeah, George Clooney's great.
And who's there's a girl in it.
Yeah,
right?
she's the main character, and I don't know the actress's name. She plays Casey.
Helen Mirren.
But she's good.
Hell yeah.
Helen, lot younger.
Love Mirren.
Hell of a lot younger. Anyway, and Tim McGraw is in the movie. I'm looking at this guy. He plays her dad, and he's yelling at her, and I'm like, why did they get this guy? This guy looks just like Tim McGraw. Is he gonna sing country or what? And then the credits roll, and it was Tim McGraw. I was like,
did he have a song?
He was
soundtrack?
in The Blind Side too.
oh, was he?
Yeah, he was the husband.
Branch it out.
He wasn't bad. He's
No, he
good.
wasn't bad in that movie.
I don't need to listen to his album. That'll be the theme song this week. I got a barbecue stain on my white t-shirt.
Cool.
You was killing me in that mini skirt.
Blowing out
The
Mike.
theme song for this week is Big Timers Still Fly, okay?
Mash them up.
And
I think the
if
fair
you
thing
want,
to do is mash them up.
And I always thought you were the Manny Fresh of the group, so I just want to
You
officially
kind of
say
are the
that.
Manny Fresh of the
If he
group.
shaved,
Thank
maybe.
you. I don't know what that
I'm
means.
going to go ahead and say I'm
But I'm
Birdman.
gonna take that as a
I'm gonna
huge
take Birdman.
compliment. So
Just
thank
get rid
you.
of that scrub.
Manny Fresh and Birdman.
Thank
And
you
then,
very much.
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding. Your voice doesn't sound like shit.
I think this is
Lil Wayne's-
Easy.
if
Lil Wayne's
this
greatest, so.
really is a conversation, then I say, let the conversation begin.
Okay, and then take a picture of Manny Fresh and superimpose it over your face while you did that bit.
Cool. Thanks.
Tight.